my name's Rhys, and in this video I'm going to discuss some of the ways that you can manage hearing loss in superficial siderosis, and I'll also discuss some of the coping methods that I use to personally manage hearing loss. Hearing loss was the first symptom that I noticed. I can remember watching Lord of the Rings on the telly, and I couldn't hear it at all, and I found myself turning the telly up, and I wasn't sure what was going on. I thought it was actually a problem with the television. But after then, I decided to get a hearing test, and that's when I realised that I had hearing loss. And I think if anyone is struggling to hear, it's worth getting your hearing checked just to make sure, to see if there's anything that can do to help. After you've had your hearing test with an audiologist, they may suggest hearing aids, and if you're thinking twice about it, I'd recommend going for it, because for me, I found it absolutely brilliant at the time. I was able to manage the hearing loss perfectly with hearing aids. I could hear speech, I could still use the phone, I could hear the high-pitched tones in music and things that I was struggling to hear before, and yeah, I could watch Lord of the Rings on the telly without struggling. Something that's very important when you have hearing loss is looking directly at the person who's talking to you. You might not realize you do it, but you probably subconsciously are lip reading. So facing the person and having them face you directly is essential. And also then you've got background noise. So if you're facing someone, it's easier to focus on the person, and you can look at the lip movements and try and compensate and remove the background noise. But yeah, look at the person and have a quiet environment. It's very helpful for hearing loss, and it makes the world of difference because it's less stressful. I could go on, but just make sure and talk to people and say to them, I'm deaf, I can't hear, I've got hearing loss. Could you just come a bit closer, look at me, can we talk outside where it's a bit quieter? It makes the world of difference. Don't be afraid to ask people to repeat what they're saying. You may even need to ask them multiple times, or even ask them to rephrase what they're saying so you can understand it. But don't be afraid, it can do the world of good and help you to understand the conversation and feel involved in what's going on. This might be quite an obvious thing, but it's good to write things down. If you can't hear properly and you're asking someone to repeat what they're saying and you still can't hear it, then it's probably worth asking them to write it down. That's something that I personally experienced when I couldn't hear my neurosurgeon, and he used to write everything down for me so I could understand what he was saying about when I was going in for my next operation. Letting people know your preferred method of communication is really essential, so you can understand everything that they want to say to you and you feel included. Now, my personal method of communication is using email. Now, I've given this to all my doctors and they know now to contact me by email. I do have a bit of a problem with some of the administration teams. If I'm signing up to something new or a new department in the hospital, I'll get a letter asking for a telephone call and I can't use the telephone. So I'm firing emails out to try and get that changed as much as I can to make it easier for me so I can actually take control of my own healthcare. The LCD writing board is great because you can write on it and then rub it off when you no longer need what's on the board. I used to take it to hospital with me all the time and keep it by my bedside, so if a nurse wanted to talk to me, they could just write on the board and ask me if I want a cup of tea or what I want for dinner and that sort of thing. So it's a really helpful tool for hearing loss. I've been learning sign language for about 3 years now. And at one point, it was my main method of communication at home with my mum because I didn't have a cochlear implant. Now, even though I have a cochlear implant, I'm still going to continue to learn sign language because I attended an event in London at one point and there was someone there who was unable to hear at all, and I have the cochlear implant so I could hear it and then interpret back to them what was being said using British Sign Language. There are other variants of sign language like American Sign Language and Australian Sign Language, but they all have the same principle of helping people communicate in that region. live transcribe apps are very helpful and can help you follow the full conversation in real time. It's good to have a little microphone sometimes to plug into your phone, and you can clip it onto someone so it picks them up and not the background noise, so you don't want multiple conversations going into the app at once, because it can get a bit confused. But with a single person, they're very fluent. You can follow the whole conversation, pick up big words, and sometimes they can, be a bit light-hearted, the mood, because they can say some funny things which the doctors or whoever didn't say. That's happened to me before whilst having a lumbar puncture. I was trying to keep still, but it was making me laugh, and the doctor looked a bit confused. But yeah, so they lighten the mood in the room, very helpful, and I really recommend it. The best one I've found is Google Live Transcribe, because it's the most accurate one. It's available on all Android phones, and that's the one I would recommend personally. Something I invested in is a deaf alarm clock. It's got a little pad that goes into the pillow and then vibrates to wake you up when the alarm goes off. It's fantastic for people with hearing loss. I had a problem myself when I was late for work because I was sleeping on my good ear, so I didn't hear the alarm go off when I had a normal alarm, and that's what inspired me to get this device, which has always got me up on time because it's quite a violent shake. I've also got another device that's linked to the fire alarm and the burglar alarm, so when those devices go off, it picks up the sound and then vibrates in a similar way to the pad of the alarm clock under the pillow. So I've got two different pads. Again, it's another great thing for safety and security in your own home. And you can also get another device that you connect the doorbell to the alarm clock, which can also be linked to your phone. It's all sorts of technology you can get to aid yourself at home with security, with safety, and to get you up on time in the morning. Again, this one might seem obvious, but having subtitles on the television is very helpful. Even if you think you've heard something, the subtitles may show something that you're missing. Now, I use subtitles all the time. I've got the cochlear implant, but I still struggle to follow the telly without the subtitles on. And there's other things you can put subtitles on as well, such as meetings online. They're absolutely brilliant on Microsoft Teams or Zoom. You put the subtitles on and you can follow exactly what's being said without missing something. And then you can also get a transcript of the conversation afterwards as well, which again can be helpful if you've forgotten something. So subtitles, captions, another great tool. Something I think is really worth mentioning is fatigue or tiredness. So when you're tired, it's more difficult to understand what people are saying because you're just not focusing as much. But also having that extra bit of fatigue can give you a bit of mental brain fog, and getting a good night's sleep really helps with hearing loss. I find in the evenings sometimes I mishear people or can't pick up what they're saying. So make sure I get that right amount of sleep every night so I can be as best functionable in my hearing as possible. Cochlear implant was personally life-changing for me, and I would recommend it if you do get the chance to have an assessment to have a cochlear implant. Go for it. There is a small chance that it may not work in superficial siderosis, which I was well informed about. They didn't know what the outcome would be, but I thought I would chance it, having been deaf completely for 5 years. I had nothing to lose really, other than a bit of surgery, which after all the surgeries I've had didn't really bother me anyway. But it was the best decision I've made ever, I would say, because it's given me a sense of being again. It makes you feel like you're in the room when you have a sense of hearing. Being deaf is very isolating, so just having that sound, coming into your ear, you feel part of the environment, part of the atmosphere. You can get involved in conversations and speak to people in different ways that you previously hadn't been able to do. So if you do get the chance to go for it, I would highly suggest you do. Tinnitus, that really annoying high-pitched sound, humming, buzzing, hissing, pulsating, whatever it is, you name it, that usually comes alongside hearing loss. and there are ways to manage it, believe it or not. As annoying as it is, I find that stress is my biggest trigger for tinnitus. Also, if you have hearing aids or a cochlear implant, I suggest wearing them because that can dampen the sound of tinnitus. Having a perception of sound or hearing things around you, that can reduce the tinnitus in your head. Eating certain foods, not getting enough sleep, there's many different triggers for tinnitus, but finding your own personal triggers is probably a good thing to do. Have an explore, try wearing your hearing aids, try taking them off, see if your tinnitus is worse. Does that help? If it does, then obviously wear your hearing aids. That would really help the tinnitus, and hopefully in the long run it can de-stress you and calm your mood a bit, because it really drives me mad when I've got these sounds going off in my ears or my brain.